Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how you as a black woman can pick up on the signs, can essentially tell if a white man is interested in you romantically. So from what I've noticed in my own personal experience, and again, I am always just speaking from my own personal experience, I have noticed that white men are a lot more subtle in their approach to black women than black men are. And I think one of the main reasons is because a lot of white men just do not believe that any black woman would be interested in them. I promise you that this is true. Read the comments underneath my videos. I could even show you clips, or not clips, but like inserts from my emails that I received. This is a very, very common thing where there is a white man who tells me that he is interested in a black woman at his job or at his gym or in his neighborhood. But he is hesitant, he is reluctant to approach her because he just does not believe that she as a black woman would be interested in him as a white man. And so unlike many black men who will, they'll approach you in a restaurant, from across the street, in the gym, in the grocery store, and of course there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I admire their courage, I admire their confidence, I admire the gusto that it takes to approach someone and demonstrate attraction and romantic interest in someone. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But unlike many black men who will do that, a lot of white men will, at least from my experience and from the men that I've interacted with, they will show their interest in through just being around. I'll give you an example. When I was in grad school, I had a really close friend. We're still good friends to this day, but I had a really close friend who was interested in me romantically, like who had a crush on me, so to speak. And I had no idea because of how secretive he was. And in hindsight, maybe I was just an idiot, that's very much so possible. But he was pretty subtle and he was pretty secretive about it. In fact, he was so secretive that I literally remember talking to him, because we were such good friends, talking to him about another guy that I had a crush on. Because again, I had no idea that my friend liked me. And honestly, he was so thoughtful and kind. And he was like, yeah, like you're a great girl and you should pursue that guy. I'm sure he would like you. And like we literally talked about another guy. Like that is how secretive he was. But ultimately, the truth did come out and he did admit to, having feelings for me. And when I confronted him about it and was like, well, why didn't you just say so? Like, why didn't you tell me? He said one of two things. And the first thing that he told me was, well, I thought you knew because, why else would I just always be around? And in that moment, as I was reflecting and thinking back and, when hindsight kicked in, I realized that, oh yeah, he was kind of like always around. Like whenever I was in the grad school break room, he would show up. Whenever we had classes, we took a lot of classes together. We would like compare our schedules. We would sit next to each other in our classes. We would study together. We would hang out in the same friend group, and he would offer to either like pick me up and take me to the hangout space, or he would offer to ride with me. And there were just a lot of instances where I literally thought we were just friends, right? Like I thought that he was just so present and so available because we were such close friends. But the reality is he was just really interested in me, and he didn't really know how to express that without compromising the friendship. Which brings me to my next point, and another thing that I've kind of noticed, again, within the men that I have interacted with, I've noticed that there's a tendency to initiate a friendship before initiating a relationship when it comes to at least some white men. Again, the ones that I've been around. There is more of like a friendship starter that could potentially lead to a relationship. And again, this could be possibly because they think that romance is just completely off the table. So they may as well, start really, really slowly, build up that friendship, and then when there's like a solid connection, they can try and make that crossover into a relationship. And honestly, I think that's such an awesome thing, because that's how you really get to know someone, is through friendship. And that's how you get to see if you're truly compatible or not. And who knows, maybe these relationships that started off as just friendships are one of the reasons behind why apparently, you know, divorce rates between Black women and white men are so low. Maybe that's why, because you have some of these relationships that are rooted like strictly and purely in friendship. The friendship thing can also be very, very confusing. And I have definitely had experiences where like they're so subtle and so friendly and everything is just so lovely, but it doesn't necessarily feel as if it's going anywhere and you're kind of uncertain. And you know, like for instance, I'll use me and Mikey. We hung out quite a few times before there was any like before the contact barrier was broken, essentially. And like it was awesome. It was fun. We had a great time. We were hanging out. We were laughing. Like it was great. But I had no idea if like we were dating or if we were just kicking it. Like honestly, I was a little bit uncertain. You know, don't get me wrong, like he was super duper sweet to me, as he always is, and he was super kind, but he was just really slow, like really, really slow to make a move. And you know, when I've asked, now that we're where we're at, when I've asked like, why were you like, why'd you move so slow? He's like, well, you know, I just really didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable, and I didn't want to come off as a creep. And that's something else that I've noticed a lot around white men. And I don't know if it's in general or just in like the relationships I've had, the people that I've been around, but there is like a real fear of being considered a creep. And you know, I feel for the men because I'm sure that's very anxiety inducing, but as a woman, I really appreciate that fear of being creepy, of making you feel uncomfortable, because it just, to me at least, it demonstrates like an actual respect of my humanity as a person and not just me being a physical object for your consumption and for your use. And so I appreciate that, although I'm sorry for those of you out there who have to deal with that and interacting with women. But just know, if you have that fear, that's probably like proof, that's confirmation, that's evidence that you're probably a pretty decent guy. And so for my women out there, for my Black women out there, we've talked about like this subtlety of white men, right? And so let's just kind of talk quickly about how you can kind of like overcome that obstacle that subtlety can be sometimes. Basically how you can kind of figure out, okay, what are we doing here? Are you interested, or are we just kicking it? Like what's going on? And the number one thing that I would recommend is just be direct. Read the comments underneath my videos. These men appreciate directness. They appreciate directness. I know that in some spaces, that directness is what is used against you, is weaponized against you. I know that that is what in some spaces is considered you being masculine or aggressive, but I'm telling you, there are people out there who appreciate your directness, who appreciate you being explicit. Literally, to go back to the example I used, I finally just asked Mikey when we first started dating, like, what's going on here? Are you gonna make a move? Like, what's happening? And I didn't do it like that, right? Like I was very playful about it. Like I was all smiley and playful, but like I was explicit. And he was so appreciative of that. And here's the thing, ladies, like I know that you always want the man to take the lead, but just because you initiate contact, like just if you take the lead once, that doesn't mean that he's never going to take the lead. That doesn't mean that he's always going to opt out and you are always going to have to run the show. Like, that's not what it means. That's not how it works. And at the same time though, like, you are an adult. Like, you are a grown woman. You pay bills. You go to work. You pay taxes. Like, you take care of yourself, and you have to look at making this initial contact, like just think of it as taking care of your needs. And there's nothing wrong with taking care of your needs and advocating for yourself. I don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You might do something once, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be your job forever. That's not what that means. And another thing that I feel like it's gonna sound irrelevant and it's gonna sound like, what are you talking about? But hear me out. Another thing that I really want to encourage for Black women out there who are interested in dating outside of their race for the first time, and maybe they're interested in like a particular white man, or maybe that's just a demographic that, you know, they've never dated before and they're interested in dating someone from that demographic. I want you to really consider the female friendships that you have in your life, and maybe organically, the key word there is organically, maybe initiate more female friendships with white women. And again, I can't stress enough, like, this should be organic. This is not for you to make friends with someone and to just use them to get the outcome that you want in your life and then dump them, leave them behind, cast them to the side. But the reason that I say that is because, think of it like this, like, how often, I don't know about you, but like, how often as a grown adult woman do you go out of your way to hang out with men that you don't know, like adult men that you don't know? How often do you do that? You probably don't do that very often. But if you have more friends within the like racial demographic that you want to date within, like, that will naturally allow you to enter into certain environments that maybe you wouldn't naturally enter into if you didn't have that individual or individuals by your side. And I just can't emphasize enough, like, I know that women can be mean to each other, and I know that we can be competitive, but at the same time, we talk so much about femininity and masculinity, and I don't know, I'm a woman-centered woman. Like, y'all know I love my man, y'all know I love him, but like, I love and adore my girls. And the best things that have happened to me in my life have happened because of women in my life. Like, a woman gave me life, and women raised me throughout this life. And so I understand that, you know, you may not connect with every woman you meet, but you will be a better woman from making strong friendships with women. And if you are looking to date a white man, it can't hurt you, I promise. It cannot hurt you to befriend white women, to see, you know, how they interact and to build connections, and to then maybe go to events and places that pull you out of your comfort zone and that put you maybe into a space where you can meet someone that you would be interested in. And think about it, like, down the road, let's say you meet that guy. At some point, if things are going well, you're going to meet his mom, his sister, you know, his aunt, maybe like his nieces. Like, you're going to meet the white women in his life. And, you know, you want to be able to build deep and profound relationships with them because, like, they are a part of who that man is. And so I personally think that that's important, and I would highly recommend it. But, you know, do you? Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and until next time, stay safe, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.